Okay, so what I want to do is talk about a wellness scale. We're going to use a mark out of 10 scale. So a 0 out of 10, that's not great. You're not really going to be signing up to anything at a 0 out of 10 because you will have just had a funeral, yours. 10 out of 10, kind of perfect, optimum vitality, cooking on gas, absolutely firing on all cylinders. And in this day and age, in the Western world, in the UK, there's not a lot of people that are up at a 10 out of 10. What's much more common, and I guess if you're interested in my website and you're having a look at this, what's much more common is you're probably around a 5 out of 10-ish, and maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, and we'll talk about what those mean. So 5 out of 10, you're tired. You're just pretty tired most of the time. Energy levels aren't very high, and there's not an awful lot in terms of symptoms that you'd complain about. But I guess if I gave you a questionnaire and asked you to think about it, and as I do with a lot of my clients, they'll score fairly high on the symptoms that they have, although they're not enough to kind of really make a big dent in your day. It's just, a lot of people call it, oh, I'm just getting old, or the same thing happened to my parents when they got to this age, that kind of stuff. And we often dismiss it like we're not entitled to feel well, we're not entitled to high vitality, which you might want to question that and see whether that's the best thought process for you to be following right now. So when you drop to a 4 out of 10, and remember down's bad, up's good, higher number out of 10 is good, lower number out of 10 is not so great. When you drop down to a 4, you're really starting to think about, you know, my day is now filled with a lot of digestive complaints, or my back hurts a lot, or stuff like that at a 4 out of 10. You drop pretty quickly down the scale now to a 3 out of 10, and now you've got something. Now you've got an ongoing condition, a syndrome, something like chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, fibromyalgia, something like that. That's a label that you can carry away with you at a 3. Down to a 2, you've probably got a disease. You're probably under the guise of 2 or 3 specialists. You're normally at a 3 out of 10. You're normally under 1 specialist at least in the medical profession. A 2 out of 10, that's not great. That's heart disease, that's cancer, that's that kind of condition. Because a 1 out of 10, there's not a lot happening for you there. Your vitality is really pretty low. So if something on that 5 out of 10 or lower strikes a chord with you, what I want to tell you a bit about is the way that I work. It's not to work necessarily with a specific condition. I don't diagnose conditions, I don't treat conditions specifically. What I look to do is work in what we would call a subclinical way, which kind of washes my hands of diagnosis and treatment. I'm not a qualified doctor, so I'm not able to do that. What I do is work with your health profile and allow your body to rebuild its health profile back up. So as you go up the marks out of 10, we've got a 5 out of 10 that is tired all the time, quite a lot of symptoms, but not a lot that you complain about. A 6 out of 10 is you're starting to feel perky, you're starting to feel vital. And that's pretty cool really when you move from that 5 to that 6, because one of the really big things that happens is you come back. Your personality reappears, because it's not kind of suppressed under this kind of fatigue of, oh God, I've woken up, I'm tired of getting up that bit. You find you complain a lot less, you find you're a lot more optimistic, you find you smile again at a 6 out of 10. Now you've still got some symptoms at a 6 out of 10, you're certainly not out of the woods, we've got a 7, 8, 9, 10 to go yet. But that's a really big transition. And often people will turn up at my door saying, fix this, and then 4 or 5 weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later in some cases, they find themselves again. They move from that to that 6 out of 10 where their personality starts to reappear. And that's the thing that they get the most excited about. Do you know, it's like I'm back, and I never would have thought this could be possible. I hadn't realised how much I'd not been here. So that's a really cool thing to think about. You move to a 7 out of 10. And an awful lot of those symptoms really do start to subside. Your energy levels don't just get back on par, because a 6 out of 10 is really on par energy levels. They start to be elevated. Your energy levels start to come up. You start to become a little bit more robust in your health profile. That means that if you have to sit on a flight, on an aeroplane flight with somebody who's got a cold, at a 5 out of 10, you get off the aeroplane flight with a cold. because your body's not really strong enough to fight it off. But at a 7 out of 10, your body's starting to get that robustness. It's starting to get a bit of, do you know what, I could do without that, so I'm not going to have it. When you get to an 8 out of 10, and this is a really important thing, your body has the ability at an 8 out of 10 on a cellular level to regenerate healthy cells. So if you've been down at a 3 out of 10 with a chronic condition that's been with you for a long time, maybe your digestive tract's a little bit hammered. Maybe your musculoskeletal system is a little bit pegged and a little bit gummed up and gungy. Now, you've got to go all the way up to an 8 out of 10 to really get long-term benefits, to really turn that condition around. You've got to get to an 8 out of 10. Now remember, at a 6 and a 7 out of 10, you start to feel fantastic. So this is what happens with a lot of people, is they'll engage in something. They'll buy a book that they've read in the Sunday Times magazine and about this latest diet or that latest fad and how it solves inflammation in the body or how, what have you. I have some clients that will do short-term cleanses. You know, that hotel in Thailand which does all the colonic irrigation and you just drink juices for a week and stuff. And I've had a few clients who've gone there and they feel great for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then they slip back into their daily routine and all the conditions that they had before they went, they all come back. And what's happening there is you're not getting up to that 8 out of 10 level, where your body is actually starting to repair itself from the inside. It's not just running more smoothly, it's actually repairing itself from the inside. And so the way I tend to work with my clients is I'm really keen that you as my client, you drive the process. You tell me what it is you want to work on, you tell me what areas of your life we can work with, and you tell me when you've had enough. You tell me when, you know, I feel fantastic now, I'm happy with this, I'm happy with what I'm doing to feel this great. I don't need to turn you into an Olympic athlete if you don't want to do that. It's a lot of hard work, and Olympic athletes tend to be only very happy when they're standing on the podium at the Olympics, which is like once every 4 years for about 10 minutes. What I want from you is to function better in your life, or what I want for you is for you to be able to function better in your life. And it's your life, so you hold the autonomy over that. But I guess the explanation is in why some people make some improvements and slip back. Now, you might have had a condition, you might have been at a 2 or a 3 or a 4 out of 10, at one of those lower levels for a long, long time. It might have been decades that you've been doing this. What I want to say is, we probably can get you up to a 6 or a 7 out of 10, where you start to feel a bit more vital, you start to feel like there's a lot of you back in the mix. Your relationships improve because you're in them again. Those 6, 7 out of 10s, we can get you to that pretty quickly. Often it's a question of clearing some of the gunk out. Often it's gunk that you didn't know was there. A lot of the diets that we follow these days that maybe Gillian McKeith or Jamie Oliver or somebody like that would think were fantastic are really not suiting us. And a lot of my clients come to me, they don't eat a lot of chips, they don't eat a lot of curries, they don't have what you would call a classic bad diet, but they do have a diet that's not really serving them particularly well. And you might put it in front of somebody and go, well, you eat healthy, you eat salads, you eat breakfast cereal, but not one of the rubbishy ones, you eat a good one, and it's not quite right. So some